They say if you stand in the courtyard of Bran Castle at 3 a.m., you'll hear the scream of a woman, followed by the cry of a child, and the sound of a bayonet dragging across the cold stone floor. But don't turn around, because if you see someone looking at you, it's already too late. That's not a line from a Hollywood ghost movie. It's the account of a man from England who once took part in the Halloween night tour at Bran Castle, better known by a much darker name, Dracula's Castle. Perched among the mountains of Transylvania, Romania, Bran Castle is not just a relic of medieval architecture. It's a convergence point for some of the most mysterious paranormal activities in all of Europe, where thick stone walls don't just trap the chill of mountain winds, but also echo the voices of spirits that can't move on. And if you think that's just an old fairy tale, remember, Romanians still believe in the Strigoi, undead beings lurking somewhere in the shadows. And right here, at Bran Castle, is believed to be the epicenter of every vampire legend ever spun. It's no coincidence that writer Bram Stoker chose this place as the inspiration for the legendary vampire Count Dracula. And it's no accident that Bran Castle is the only castle in Transylvania that matches the description in that classic novel. But today's story isn't the Dracula you've seen in horror movies. It's the blood-soaked truth of impaled corpses, of wailing souls, of nights where sunlight never comes. Because sometimes the scariest thing isn't the darkness, it's what's standing in it, staring at you, without blinking. Located on the edge of Transylvania, this castle seems to rise straight out of the rock itself, a deadly, beautiful mass of architecture. Towering spires like claws, moss-covered stone walls, windows like the eyes of the dead staring out over a mist-filled valley. Bran Castle doesn't just attract lovers of history or Gothic architecture. It is a living symbol of fear passed down through centuries through books, legends, and collective obsession. Although Bram Stoker, the author of the novel Dracula, never set foot in Romania, his description of the castle in the book chillingly matches Bran Castle, isolated on a mountain, surrounded by dense forests, twisting hallways, and an atmosphere thick with death. Bran Castle has long ceased to be a typical tourist destination. It is a place where the past, legend, and modern creepypasta merge into one. Every corner, every stone here seems to hold the breath of stories that never ended. And the scariest part? It's not whether Dracula was real or not. It's what made people believe for centuries that he still is. In this castle, in the darkness, and in your dreams. Imagine you're walking through a forest, and right in front of you are 20,000 impaled corpses, still not fully decomposed. That's not a scene from a horror movie. That was the real strategy of a flesh and blood man, Vlad III, also known as Vlad the Impaler, the one who terrified the Ottoman Empire so deeply they retreated because they couldn't bear the stench of the dead. His name became a global nightmare, the foundation for vampire legends, such as Dracula. But the truth is always more complicated than what history writes in black ink and red blood. Born into a brutal era, Vlad grew up surrounded by betrayal, war, and political assassinations. As a teenager, he was taken hostage by the Ottoman army, forced to live among enemies, swallowing hatred like daily bread. When he returned, he was no longer a boy, but a blade sharpened by vengeance. Vlad didn't just kill. He turned killing into a ritual. He impaled his victims through the anus up to the mouth, carefully avoiding vital organs so that they would remain alive for hours, sometimes days, in agonizing pain. Men, women, children, no one was spared. The naked, rotting bodies, skewered from below, heads slumped to the side as if whispering something to the crows. When Sultan Mehmed II marched his army into Transylvania, he encountered something worse than war. A forest of the dead, stretching for miles, women clutching children, both impaled through the same stake, infants tied to their mothers' stomachs so the blood could mix and flow together. Birds had built nests inside their hollowed-out intestines. The stench of death pierced straight into the brain. Soldiers vomited. The Sultan turned and fled. However, in Romania, many still refer to Vlad as Domnitor, a title that denotes a ruler and hero. To them, Vlad was the only one brave enough to stand against a vast empire, the guardian who kept Ottoman claws off their homeland. So what was he? A demon? Or the only king willing to let his blood spill with his people's? Or maybe both? When real-life evil crosses a certain line, it ceases to be just a historical figure. It becomes a legend, a symbol, a nightmare so vivid that even imagination has to borrow from it. At the end of the 19th century, an Irish writer named Bram Stoker released a classic novel, Dracula, about an immortal count living in an isolated castle deep in Transylvania, feeding on the blood of the living to survive. Here's the strange thing. Stoker never set foot in Romania. Yet the descriptions in his book eerily match Bran Castle, a stone fortress rising from the mountain, surrounded by deep forests, mist, and an atmosphere heavy as cold ash. Was that a coincidence? Or is there a piece of Vlad the Impaler, the man who impaled tens of thousands, still lingering in collective memory, in a blood-soaked dream where literature became the only escape? Bran Castle, though never officially recorded as Vlad's long-term residence, remains the fortress that mirrors what Stoker described on every page. Sharp towers, spiral hallways, cold chambers, and a beauty laced with death, enough to make anyone who steps inside whisper, "This is where Dracula exists." But what's more striking is this. Ever since that novel was published, the line between reality and myth has been erased. Vlad, the real man, and Dracula, the immortal creature, have merged into a new symbol. A blood drinker in a haunted castle, buried in a cursed land. Since then, Bran Castle is no longer just a historical site. It is Dracula's castle, the most haunted castle in all of Europe, a place where literature, history, and vampire legends meet in the dark. If your loved one dies on the night of a full moon, don't bury them too soon, because they might come back and knock on your door at 3 a.m. Not a vampire, not Dracula, but the Strigoi is the oldest fear in Romanian folklore. A corpse rising from the grave, carrying vengeance from a past life and an unending hunger for souls. In Eastern European folklore, Strigoi are the unrested dead, those who died at the wrong time, without proper rituals or burdened by heavy grudges. And when night falls, they crawl out of their graves, wandering through villages, draining the life force from the living, often starting with their own family. You think it's just a legend. In 2003, a small village in Romania sent shivers across the world. A man named Petre Toma died of a strange illness. But after his death, many villagers claimed they saw him return, sitting on their chest in their sleep, suffocating them, stealing their breath. 6 men from Petra's family dug up his corpse at midnight, cut open his chest, removed the heart, burned it into ash, and mixed it with water for the entire family to drink in an ancient exorcism ritual. The police arrested them, but no one in the village showed any remorse, because to them, Strigoi are real, and if you don't stop them, your entire family could die. That story shocked the media, but to the people of Transylvania, this fear isn't new. It's inherited memory, a shadow embedded deep in the subconscious, where life and death blur into one. Maybe that's why Bram Stoker felt something in this land, a chill that existed long before Dracula, a sense that in Romania, death is never truly the end. That night, the dogs howled without stopping. Mirrors cracked on their own. And if you hear a wolf speak in a human voice, your soul has already been marked. In Romania, there's no Halloween like in the West, but there is a night even more haunting, the eve of St. Andrew's Day on November 30th. Believed to be the time when the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest, the old belief says that on this night, Strigoi, the undead, rise from their graves, slipping through the frozen darkness to drink blood and steal the souls of their loved ones. For generations, entire villages would shut their doors tight after sunset. Garlic was hung in every corner of the house, smeared on windows, sprinkled around animal pens because Strigoi despise its smell. Mirrors were turned face down because the dead could return through them, staring at you from the other side. Old women stayed awake all night, whispering prayers, tossing chicken blood into the fire to guide lost spirits home. Some even locked cats inside wooden boxes until morning, believing that if the cat cried 3 times at midnight, someone in the house would soon die. But the most terrifying tale of all? Talking wolves. Romanians believe that on this night, wolves gain the power to see ghosts, and if you hear a wolf speak in a human voice, it means a spirit has already chosen you. It's no coincidence that Bram Stoker gave Dracula the power to turn into a wolf. He knew that to Romanians, wolves are not just animals. They are guardians of the border between worlds. Bran Castle was once a place where anti-demon rituals were held during St. Andrew's night. Its cold, empty corridors where garlic once hung, where animal bones and dried chicken blood still stain the walls, remain untouched, as if time itself couldn't erase the spirits. And to this day, locals still whisper the same name for that night, the night no one should sleep alone. There are souls that can't move on because when they died, their bodies were no longer whole. They're lost, screaming in agony, and sometimes you'll hear it, even when you're standing alone. Today, Bran Castle welcomes hundreds of thousands of visitors each year, but strangely many leave with a chill in their spine, one they can't explain. They speak of a sharp pain in the chest, as if something is pressing down, of hallways that suddenly feel as cold as crypts, of furious knocking in the middle of the night, though no one stands at the door. Some even swear they've heard moaning, sobbing women and children crying from deep within the castle walls, as if their spirits are still trapped inside. And this isn't a baseless rumor. Bran Castle was once a place of imprisonment, torture, and execution. Many victims died in unbearable pain, disemboweled, impaled, burned alive, their bodies left mutilated. Ancient belief says that if a body isn't buried properly, the soul will never find peace. And this place, once piled with hundreds of corpses, has become a soul trap with no escape. No one knows how many died inside this castle, but some rooms never feel warm, even when sunlight pours through the windows. There are corridors where flashlights suddenly die, even with fresh batteries. Cameras fail to capture images or record anything, standing right behind you. Bran is not just a castle, it is a prison for souls whose bodies were torn apart, a place where flesh was turned to ash, but the calling still echoes through every stone wall. If you see an old wooden door that isn't on the tourist map, don't open it, because you might not walk out as yourself anymore. Bran Castle isn't just terrifying because of its history. It haunts people because of what lies deep underground, where light cannot reach and time is swallowed whole. Behind its ancient stone walls is a network of secret passageways, built in the 14th century for soldiers to escape or ambush invaders. But rumors claim that Vlad the Impaler used them to drag prisoners into torture chambers, none of whom were ever seen again. A small crypt beneath the main tower, off limits to the public, was once used to imprison traitors of the crown. Its walls are stained with blood turned black, and rusted iron hooks still bear the shape of human wrists. The night guard says that whenever he walks past it, his watch always stops at 3:15 a.m., every single time. There's a torture room carved roughly into the stone floor below, where tourists have reported headaches, dizziness, or the sensation of being strangled, despite being perfectly healthy before entering. A woman from Germany once screamed during a tour, saying she saw a man with no face standing shoulder to shoulder with her. Inside the walls, there are small cavities filled with shattered bones, believed to belong to victims who were tortured until their bodies were dismembered and stuffed into the structure like cement mixed with blood. Locals call them the Cursed Hollows, where broken souls are trapped forever, unable to pass on. Many spiritual mediums refuse to descend into the depths of Bran Castle. They say, what's down there isn't just darkness, it's something waiting for you in the dark. And the most terrifying part of all, when everything goes silent, you might hear breathing behind your neck, but no one's there. Not every curse needs blood to begin. Some only need memory and a fear that never truly fades. Bran Castle has stood for centuries. Wars, dynasties, and empires all have fallen, but the curse remains. From a military fortress where blood once spilled onto stone, to a royal residence, to a shadow in a novel, and finally, to an immortal symbol of Dracula, of vampires, of restless souls who were never forgiven. People come here out of curiosity. They take photos, laugh, and film vlogs, but only when night falls and the cold of the ancient stone walls seeps into your bones do you realize this is no ordinary monument. This place doesn't just preserve history, it preserves pain that was never allowed to die. The faint groans on the staircase, a chill that cuts through your chest even when the wind is still, bloodstains that can't be scrubbed clean, and a quiet sense that you're not truly alone. Maybe the Dracula in books is just a symbol, but the terror from Vlad the Impaler is real, and the vengeful spirits of the impaled, the burned, the torn apart in this castle are real. You don't need proof. Just one quiet night in Bran is enough to understand. Some fears don't need a face to exist. That fear lives in the stone, in the air, in walls that breathe with dried blood. Maybe that is the real curse. Not Vlad, not Dracula, not even the Strigoi, but the way Bran Castle makes you carry a piece of its darkness home with you, never to give it back. There are places you visit only once, but they never let go of you. Bran is one of those places, and the curse still lingers.